Advanced Studio Classroom is on the air. Join us today for Pet Care and Pets in the Air. So, hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to all of you listening in today, whether you have pets or not. We have to care about pets in the air, I guess. That's what our article is about. And Hazel, you have pets, and I love pets. And what about you, Dave? Do you like pets or not?
I do like pets. I had a cat when I was living in America, and I really loved that cat.
Oh, I know. And pets are so nice. And we have to take good care of them. And sometimes when you travel, you don't like to leave them, especially by themselves or very long. Isn't that true, Hazel?
That's true. When I travel, I need to leave my dogs at home.
But if you take them on the plane, it's kind of a lot of trouble, too.
Oh, that's a lot of trouble. We'll talk about that later. But it's even leaving them at home. So I try to leave them in the apartment that they're used to and have someone come and take care of them.
When you have pets, you have to take care of them. Now, we think about kids, of course. You have to take care of them. But, the pets are also very dependent on their owners, and they notice it when you're gone. Some of them won't even eat.
Yeah, that's true. They get really nervous. They can even get sick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that was Dave we're just talking to, and Hazel, and I'm Doris here. And we're going to read this article on page 22. And what's the name of it? There's two articles together. What's the first one?
All right. The first one is How to Save Money on Pet Care. Mm-hmm. I like saving money.
Well,
and I
we
like
to
pet
take
care.
care of them. Yeah. So these are tips on caring for your pets and new rules for animal air travel. Two articles. So we'll start with the first one on pet care. Are you all ready?
Ready.
Ready.
Okay, so how are we going to read this one?
I think we're just going to read that first section.
Okay, so read out loud with us if you want to. And there's some good words. And even if you don't have pets or even like them, there's some pretty good idioms to learn, aren't there?
Sure.
Well, so let's get started and read the first section.
Pet care and pets in the air. Tips on caring for your pets and new rules for animal air travel. How to save money on pet care. Owning a pet has a lot of perks, but caring for one can take its toll on your wallet. According to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, owning a dog or cat can cost up to $1,000 in the first year, and many people end up spending much more. The good news is you can cut your pet care expenses without compromising your pet's health and well-being. Here are a few ways you can save money and keep your pet healthy.
Well, we like to save money when we do things, but when it comes to caring for people and animals and even taking care of your house and things, we do spend money on taking care of things, don't we, Hazel?
We sure do. It seems like my wallet gets empty pretty quickly these days. Mm-hmm. And owning a pet is one thing that costs a lot of money, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it says here at the very beginning that owning a pet has a lot of perks. Now, I think of perks as like if you're going to get a job and you say the perks are you don't have to work weekends or you get an extra New Year's bonus or something. I call those perks.
Yeah, maybe a free parking space or a big office with a view.
Those
are perks.
Yeah, those are perks, yeah.
Don't get into those perks, man. But but how can owning a pet have any perks?
Well, they're good companions. They're a lot of fun. You can take them out hiking or you can just when you're sitting around on the sofa, they like to cuddle, and it's just nice to have them around.
Well, and they keep you company, and they love you, and sometimes people get mad at you, but usually the pets, if you treat them nice, they're pretty nice to you.
That's right. Everybody else can
They're
be
loyal.
upset, but my dogs always love me.
They'll always love you when you come. No matter what you did at the office, your dogs are happy to see you when you come home.
Usually right.
Yeah, that's true. So, and also in a lot of the retirement homes or homes for older people, they find that having pets is a good companionship for people. And people that have pets seem to have a very brighter outlook. It just cheers them up. I like the pictures of all these cute little animals here, just waiting for somebody to pet them.
Yeah, they're all cute.
So that's some of the perks, is that it's sometimes good for your health, keeps you from getting lonely.
Yeah, actually having pets can be very good, unless you're allergic to it.
Yeah.
Having pets can be very good for your health, just because it keeps you from being lonely. It kind of gives you a sense of someone, it's like someone else who's going through life with you.
That's true. And, one thing about kids, if you teach kids how to take care of animals, they learn responsibility. They say, Mommy, can I have a dog or a cat? Sure, but you're going to have to give it a bath. You're going to have to feed it, take it for walks. And they learn responsibility of taking care of something else, don't they?
That's right. And another perk, some dogs or pets protect your home. If an intruder comes, they'll bark and perhaps
Even bite
scare
them.
someone
They might
away.
bite them too.
They might bite them. That's true.
if they're robbers come to take you.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of perks, But when you take care of animals, it says here, take its toll on your wallet. Now, to take its toll itself, what does that actually mean as a phrase, to take a toll on something?
To take a toll means to have like a negative effect.
You have to pay money. Like if you go on a highway and you take the tollway, it's like paying fare for going on the freeway, right?
Right. It's not always money, but it takes a toll on your wallet, so that is money. But maybe you're working day and night, you have a big project, and it takes a toll on your health.
Right.
And maybe you can't sleep at night because you worry about things. That takes a toll. The economy takes a toll.
Right. Yeah, so kind of like what you were saying, the phrase comes from having to pay money to go through a certain road. Right. So it's like, this thing is costing you something, whether it's costing you your health or costing you actual money, like we see here, or something else. If something takes a toll, it's a negative effect.
So in other words, it's going to use your money, whether it's in your wallet or your savings account or whatever, but it's going to cost you something, isn't it, Hazel?
That's right. So pets have perks, but they take a toll on your finances.
Now, there's a group in America, it's got a big long name, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And every time you talk about it, you don't want to say that. So we have an acronym. What do we say for that one?
ASPCA.
The ASCPA, right. And that means that they prevent people from being cruel to animals. And sometimes people can even go to jail or pay a fine if they're cruel to animals and they get caught.
Yeah, in many states, in the United States, that's true. You can pay jail time for mistreating and abusing animals.
So when they say something, they have their power to do something about it, don't they?
Sure do.
And they said something about owning a dog or cat. What did they say about that?
They said it can cost up to $1,000 in your first year.
Wow, that's U.S. dollars, huh?
Yeah, U.S. dollars.
It could cost you that much. And
Or even
many
more.
people even spend more than that, especially if the animal gets sick.
Yeah, that's a big toll, isn't it?
Well, but you don't spend it all at once. Usually it's on dog and cat food and going to the vet. We'll find out what you use it
Right.
for.
And it says this is the first year, so you would include maybe shots and vaccinations, maybe even the cost of the pet as well.
Right,
But everything costs. If you get a car, you get to pay insurance and you have to pay parking and every time you go someplace. So whatever you do seems to cost money. It takes a toll on your wallet, doesn't it?
It seems like it, yes.
Even buying the magazine takes a toll, but not very much. So
And
don't
that's a
forget to
big
buy
perk
Studio
of the
Classroom.
magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could listen in free too,
Yeah.
But anyway, it takes a toll on your wallet. It just means it can be quite expensive. And sometimes if the animal gets sick or something happens, they can spend much more.
Yeah.
Right, but there is good news. You can cut your pet care expenses.
Ooh, and you can do that without compromising your pet's health and well-being.
Now, what does it mean to compromise something?
It means to give up something.
Okay.
Basically.
It's going to cost you something to do that. So you say, okay, you can do it, and it doesn't have to cost that much. We say, well, what do you mean? And so there's a few ways that we can save money and not spend quite so much money, but keep our pet healthy. Is that important for pet owners to know?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's easy to save money. You can think about, how can I pay less, get the cheapest food, get the cheapest health care for my animal, but sometimes that may compromise the pet's health.
Okay.
So here's some ways you can save money, but you don't have to put your pet's health in jeopardy. No compromise.
So if you do get an animal, remember it's a responsibility. And I know in the States and in many places they make you sign something or adopt the pet. And sometimes in certain places in Asia, they don't want the pet anymore. They just put it out in the street. And it's so irresponsible because it's a life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you have to be responsible for your pets. So if you want to save money and keep them healthy, there's 3 things that this article recommends. So I think it'll be worth talking about for a few minutes, don't you?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Hazel, shall we just take the first one to start with? What do you think?
Okay, let's do it.
Don't skip the vet. If you're trying to save money, it can be tempting to cut back on veterinary visits. But according to Julie Charmella of the American Veterinary Medicine Association, an investment in preventive health care can reduce your long-term pet health care costs. Regular checkups can prevent expensive complications down the road.
So one important thing is don't skip the vet. The vet is how we say animal doctor, veterinarian. It's short for veterinarian. Don't skip going to the vet or taking your pet for health care.
But it can be tempting to say, well, I'm not going to take my dog to the vet. Sometimes people do that with themselves. You say, take a checkup in your health every year. Oh, I'm fine. I don't have to. But you shouldn't really take a cut back on things like that.
Well, you shouldn't because, and I think it's a really good point, this lady, Miss Julie Charmella, she said that an investment in preventive health care can reduce your long-term pet health care costs. And she's with the American Veterinary Medicine Association, so she definitely knows what she's talking about, right?
No, it depends on where you live. Some places people have insurance even, and so they can take their animals to the doctor because they have insurance or to the vet. But it does cost a lot of money, and some people spend, a lot of money on vets, and there should be some way to make it a little cheaper.
That's right. So maybe you decide to go to the cheapest vet in town, but maybe they're not really very good.
Maybe they don't have the equipment to check their heart and their liver.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're trying to save money, it can be tempting. You might think it's a good idea, and maybe you're really considering it. Cut back on the veterinary visits, but in the long run, it may not be a good idea at all.
Well, you invest money when you buy that animal because when you have a child, you invest money. You got to send them to school and buy them clothes, and you get a pet. And nowadays they put clothes on them even. But you don't need to do that necessarily. But you have to spend money to see that they're in good shape, don't you?
Yeah, and the thing is, if you don't do that, if you don't regularly get your pet checked up and make sure they're okay, then there might be some kind of problem there that's growing and getting worse and worse. And by the time you realize it's there, Because, your pets, they can't tell you with their words, right?
Their heart or their liver
right,
is bad.
Right. Then all of a sudden you may have to get some kind of surgery done, right? If you're even willing to pay for that, and you could have caught it much sooner.
That's right.
So it's an investment to prevent something going wrong. So
regular checkups are good, yeah.
Right, so.
Do you take your dogs to the vet every year or something or not?
Well, they need shots every year, and so then usually the vet might weigh them or just make
see
sure they're
okay.
Or if I see a small problem, I might take them to the vet right away, like Dave
like
said.
Their skin is or itching or something.
Right,
like
I don't want
that.
it to get worse because then that might be even more costly later.
That will cost more. And there's a nice little idiom here. It says it can prevent expensive complications down the road. And what does down the road actually mean?
Down the road just means in the future.
Okay, so if you're not really saving money, you think you're saving it now, but later on, in the future, you have to pay more because you might need an operation or something.
That's right. There might be complications down the road, and that will cost even more.
Right, yeah.
So take them to the vet. Don't say, my dog never goes to the vet. Maybe they need to. Take them to the vet.
Yeah.
Check them up. Find a good vet. But what's the second point here? Let's read number 2.
Get by with a little help. Dog walking, pet sitting, and kennel services can be some of the most expensive aspects of owning a pet. You can save money by tapping into a network of other pet owners in your area. Neighborhood dog parks are great places to meet like-minded pet lovers. Or you could try good old-fashioned advertising.
Well, Hazel, you sometimes are gone and stuff. Do you get a little help with your animals?
I do. I have some co-workers, some friends that help me feed my dogs and my birds while I'm away. And get by with a little help. Actually, it's more than a little help because it's not an easy job to walk dogs, especially 3 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could remind our listeners how many dogs you have.
And so I really do appreciate the help. And then I try not to travel too many times or
you don't
stay
like to
away
be gone
too long.
Too much,
because I know it's difficult for someone
there's a lot
else.
of kennel services. There's places where you can board your pets when you're gone, but they're quite expensive usually.
That's right. And I think, too, my dogs feel more comfortable at home. If they were someplace else that was strange and I was gone, they wouldn't know what was happening. So
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes they don't have a very big area and they can't walk around much and they feel like they're in a cage or something.
Yeah.
So it's much better if they could stay home and somebody goes to your home, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it can be expensive if you do have to take them on. You know, in the older days, there's always somebody home and your mom and dad and take care. Now everybody's out working and they're living in a little apartment. It's kind of different than when we had houses and grandma was there to take care of them or somebody.
I think about that sometimes when I used to live in the States and it was just like, I'll be gone. Don't forget to feed the dog.
Yeah.
But it's
and
very
grandma
different.
could do it or auntie or uncle or
Right.
something.
It's very different when your family's not here or you don't have neighbors that you know very well.
Yeah, and a lot of people now move to the city. They used to live out in the countryside, and they just don't have that support from the family for their animals.
Yeah, and that's really hard in a lot of ways in life. But I think one of the, luckily, since even though we live in the city and we're not near our family members, we still have neighbors, right? So I think it's a good thing to, if you live in the city, if you live alone, maybe a small apartment, get to know the other pet owners in your community, right? Because then you might be able to save money by tapping into a network of other pet owners in your area.
But you got to be sure you know more about them because I know I've left my cats with other people before, and people told me they just put them out in the porch and wouldn't let them in the house. And you feel really bad when that happens.
Of course, you need to know people. But if you find people, this says tap into other pet owners. So maybe they have a pet, they'll take care of your pet when you're gone, and maybe you can return the favor if they travel and take care of their dog.
Yeah. Actually, I had a great experience with this when I was living in Missouri, and some friends at my church were going on a trip. They had 2 cats. Yeah, they had 2 cats. And they actually, they wanted me to watch their cats, but they had a really nice house. And they actually just invited me to stay at their house while I was watching the cats.
Yes.
So I felt like I was living in like a mansion for a while. And all I had to do was feed their cats. It was actually.
But if the
really
cats
nice.
went to your house, they might even run away or something because they're scared.
Right. So it was better for me to go to them.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad idea then, see? So you can tap into this network, or you look into this. When you tap into something, you check it out. You look it up. And you could try some advertising, but I'm not sure whether we'd really have to do that or not. But there's one more thing today that we have to talk about. Let's read number 3.
Choose high-quality pet products. Reaching for the cheapest product can feel like a thrifty move, but you may be surprised by the impact cheap products can have on your budget. For example, cheaper clay cat litter needs to be changed more often, so cat owners go through bag after bag. World's Best Cat Litter is an alternative that harnesses the concentrated power of corn for long-lasting performance. You'll use less litter, replace it less often, and save money in the long run. In the end, remember that what your pet needs most is love. Keep things simple and invest in high-value products where it matters, and you'll be on your way to a pet care budget that works for you.
So you want pet products that are high quality. Don't always reach for the cheapest product. And one thing talks about a thrifty move. You may want to cut expenses, but buying very cheap dog food or kitty litter can actually cost more money in the long run or down the road.
Of course, sometimes they'll have a sale, 2 for 1. That's okay. But don't buy something just because it's cheaper, like cat litter. Instead of the cats going outside to go to do their little jobs, as we say, they're in the house. But if you buy something that's cheap, you have to change it. It gets wet and stays wet. And if you buy some of these kinds that have bitter reputation, you don't have to change it that much. And it really saves money in the long run, doesn't it?
That's right. When you buy dog food or cat food, check the ingredients. You can look online and find out what's best for your animal, and then you can check the ingredients before buying different kinds of food.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to food, that's like a whole nother world. I mean, my actually an employer I worked for in the States, she had a dog. It was a Bernese mountain dog, which is a very beautiful breed of dog, but also very, very special. You have to take special care of them. It's a big dog. And, I mean, the food that she gave this dog.
I hope she didn't live in an apartment.
Oh, no. She was always out. She was, going around. We worked in a warehouse. So the dog was always running around the warehouse, having a great time. But the food she ate, a few times I would go on errands for her, go out buy the food for her, and she would hand me, like $150 and be like, oh yeah, get, like 3 bags of the food or something, or like even if it was maybe just 2. And I'm like, giving like, whoa, like super expensive, but it was the right stuff, and she has a healthy dog, still.
That's right. So be careful what you feed your dog, and that includes treats, too. Be sure you get treats that are healthy and don't have a lot of preservatives that might hurt the dog. So that's a few ways that you could, again, save money down the road. It may not be cheaper right now, but you'll save money in the long run.
Well, and sometimes if you get cheaper food, the animals affects them. They scratch and itch, and because the food's got something in it that's not good for them.
Yeah.
And people put things in dog and cat food because it's cheaper, and they think nobody will notice it. So you have to get really good brands, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
So you need to choose an alternative. It uses that word, an alternative. What is the best choice, the best alternative?
And when it harnesses the power of it, it means it makes use of that power. It uses it. But, in the end, I think this is very important. What is the thing that your pet needs most of all?
Your love.
Your love.
And people
For
need
sure.
love, and pets need love.
Yeah.
And some people even say plants need love. I know some people that water their plants. I know one of our teachers, she said, I talk to my plants every day. I'm not sure if they understand her, but, but actually she gave them tender care by taking care of them, see. But animals really do need love. Mm-hmm. And if you get upset with them and you just tell them something and it hurts their feelings, they don't want to eat, and they really need you to understand them, don't they?
Uh-huh. They do love it when you love them, and of course they always love you back. And so you can keep things simple, but you do want to invest in high-quality products when it matters.
Yeah, and I really like this phrase it uses. We're talking about high-quality products, right? It may be more expensive at the time, but it'll save you a lot of money in the long run.
Right. That's a very good phrase.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then you'll be on your way to something means that you are beginning to take care of the problem, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you take care of the budget problem that works for you. So get good food. You don't have to give them as much, but get something good instead of getting a lot of junk food, just like people. We can eat good food or we can eat cheap junk food, see? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's the same way for animals, isn't it?
That's correct.
People used to always just give animals the scraps from their plate, especially dogs. Yeah. And then they found out that the bones that they chew would sometimes hurt their bodies, and don't give them chicken bones and things like that. Isn't that true, Hazel?
True. I don't give my dogs bones at all.
No.
This talks about a budget that works for you. Maybe if you haven't gotten your pet yet and your budget is low, maybe you want a small animal, you could feed it less. Mm-hmm. It takes less
especially
room.
If you have a small apartment.
Yeah, especially.
So those are things to consider, too, before you even get a pet.
Right. So you want to take care of your pet very well if you get one. And remember, it's a responsibility, and you don't just get a pet for a year or two and then say, I don't want it anymore. It becomes part of your family, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And you take care of it as long as it lives. And sometimes it's 8, 10, 12, maybe 20 years, right?
Could be, yes.
Mm-hmm. So pet care is something that you have to think of when you get an animal. And so those are some tips. But what if you want to travel and you're going to take your pets with you? Let's talk about pets in the air tomorrow. Will you be back for that?
Sure thing, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow when we continue the article about pets in the air. Goodbye for today. Take good care of your pets. Show them you love them.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Bye.